This is Gerardo Del Real with Digest Publishing. Joining me today is the CEO of TinOne Resources, Mr. Chris Donaldson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's great catching up in person. It's been a bit. We just chatted a few weeks ago about the spectacular results from TinOne. So I wanted to get you out here and just have a conversation about how you're feeling about that drill program.
Yeah, well, it's come together pretty well. If you remember, it's a project that we have in Tasmania, in Australia, had a historic resource on it of about 10,000 tons at about 0.2%, with all the mineralization right at surface down about 40 meters. So we've been drilling for the last 3 months and are starting to get some real good results coming out, which is fantastic. The latest batch all hit over 0.2%. In one case, we had about 26 meters at 0.5% tin, which is great in a new area of the deposit that didn't have any other drilling on that. So that was the first kind of objective that we hit, getting higher grade. And now we're drilling a little lower than the previous drilling, and it looks like it's extending down. So definitely on track, and have more results coming out in the next couple months.
Now you have multiple projects, but this is an advanced stage project, right? And so tell me a bit more about the approach to this specific project.
Yeah, we have several projects. We just actually made an acquisition a month ago of a project called Rattler Range in Tasmania as well. So I think we now have four or five of the 7 tin occurrences in Tasmania. So we've got a good assembly of projects. But the order of how we're working on, Great Pyramid is one we're working on right now, looking to expand that resource and lead to an updated resource. Hopefully we'll have enough drilling out of this campaign to be able to restate the resource. We'll know that in the next couple of months. So while that's going on, we're also doing some earlier stage work on a project called Aberfoyle. Aberfoyle, about half an hour, 45-minute drive from Great Pyramid. It's a district that had produced over 2 million tons of tin. Got shuttered in the 80s when the tin price collapsed. But they were chasing high-grade veins and never really did any modern exploration on it at all. They're just kind of plan a year ahead and keep chasing these veins. So we're doing a lot of mapping and rock chip sampling and so forth, both to see the extent of the historic veins and historical veins, and also to see if there's some new ones. So when we're finished drilling up at Great Pyramid, we'll slide on over to Aberfoyle and start drilling there.
You mentioned an updated resource estimate, and I know that you have a very specific target in mind, both tonnage and grade.
Yeah.
And I want to get to the why here in a second, but can you talk to that a bit?
I mean, we're a very early stage company right now. I think our market cap was $7-8 million. Yeah. So when you put it in that context, and for us, we're trying to get up to about 40 million, and we think we can get there if we can get that resource into about a 30,000 ton range at something about 0.2% or greater. And why I choose that number is that a company called First Tin bought a project called Taronga for about 40 million Australian about 18 months ago. And at that time, that project was about 30,000 tons at 0.17. So that should underpin the value for the company. And then, of course, we have all the other projects as well. But I think that's our first hurdle, is to try to get it into that range.
Excellent. Why tin?
Well, tin is, it's kind of the forgotten battery metal, and it's one of the most cyclical of all of the metals that are out there. And we saw earlier this year, about 7-8 months ago, it hit an all-time high, about 50,000 a ton. There's a real squeeze in the market. Unfortunately, it's come right down. I think we're sitting at about 22,000 a ton right now. But the long-term forecast, similar to copper, is the demand is there. It's the primary use is in soldering, so anything electric. It's considered the glue that holds batteries together, and semiconductors and so forth. So demand side, the long-term prospects are definitely there. The supply side is more interesting. Most of it is coming out of jurisdictions that you would consider maybe dubious. So you're talking Myanmar and DRC, Indonesia, China. And part of what led to the squeeze was 7-8 months ago was that China and Indonesia were restricting the export of it. So the real squeeze, price went up, and it's a smaller market, so you have these fluctuations. For us right now, we're not so concerned about the real peaks, but they will happen, and hopefully we get a little tailwind on that as we're coming out with some good news and so forth. But there's certainly a demand for tin projects, new tin projects, and certainly a demand for tin projects in good jurisdictions. There are very, very few in what we call Western world, or number one tier countries. So anybody, the Teslas of the world who are talking about supply chains and are concerned about where their materials are coming from are starting to look to these projects that are in better jurisdictions with higher environmental standards.
You talked a bit about the recent acquisition, and you already have a portfolio of high quality projects. I think it's important for people to understand the capital group behind you that's helping facilitate a lot of this action.
Yeah, so we're part of the Inventa Capital Group, and that is founded and led by Mike Connert and Craig Perry. Many people know Craig from, he was a founder of ISO Energy and NextGen. He's current chairman of Skeena Resources and the chairman of Vizsla Silver, which is doing phenomenally well with their Panuco project in Mexico. Mike Connert is the CEO of that project as well. So we've got a basket of companies, and this group is able to help us finance and structure these projects. And their mantra is to provide the elements that the world needs. And tin is one of them. In the new electrification kind of age that's going forward. So good to have a solid backing. We have a real team behind us and the infrastructure that you need to for earlier stage companies to grow. And so we've been out for about 1 year now on the working on the tin story and looking forward to getting more results out and really growing this resource.
You have assays pending, you have a resource update that's pending, you have multiple projects, you have a great group backing you, you have a group that's got a history of success, a lot to like for a company with a market cap of 7 to 8 million.
And we just did a raise, so we got a couple $1 million in the bank, so we're good for the next year.
There you go. Chris, always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks so much, Rogo.
Thank you.